Your kids could get free or low-cost health coverage from Medicaid or CHIP. Even if you've applied before, they may be eligible now. Kids up to age 19 are covered for checkups, vaccines, dentist visits, hospital care, and more. And if they already have Medicaid or CHIP, remember to renew every year. Visit insurekidsnow.gov or call 877-KIDS-NOW. Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
This is the story of the one. As a maintenance supervisor at a manufacturing facility, he knows keeping the line up and running is a top priority. That's why he chooses Grainger. Because when a drive belt gets damaged, Grainger makes it easy to find the exact specs for the replacement product he needs. And next-day delivery helps ensure he'll have everything in place and running like clockwork. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Six Man Podcast. I'm your host, Phil Dunn. On today's episode, my guest is Dorian Robinson. Dorian grew up in Chicago, grew up playing ball in Chicago, high school ball in Chicago. He came to New York and played at the college in Mount St. Vincent for his college career. After college, he went on to play professionally in Italy and at Rome City Institute in Rome. He is now back in his home city of Chicago, coaching as an assistant coach at Chicago Hope Academy, where he just won a state championship. Super excited about this interview. Before we get into the interview, just want to continue to thank everyone for all the support, and remind you, if you could please follow on Instagram at the Six Man Podcast, as well as YouTube at the Six Man Podcast. We are going to be expanding to video moving forward, so TikTok at the Six Man Podcast, YouTube at the Six Man Podcast, all that good stuff. Continue to like, rate, subscribe on the audio side too, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Again, appreciate all the support. Excited to keep going. Let's get to the interview with Dorian. Thanks. All right, I'm here with Dorian Robinson. Dorian, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming on the pod.
Of course, man. Thanks for having me, Phil.
Of course. So to start, I want you to talk a little bit about like your beginnings in basketball, like how you first started playing, what age did you start playing at, who first put the ball in your hands?
Yeah. So basketball for me started super early. I was probably 3 or 4 when I first was kind of active as a kid. I remember having obviously the little Tykes hoop and the hoops on the backyard and everything like that. And it started there. My dad was the first one that kind of played in my hands. He played college basketball himself. He was so-called the man, I guess. That's what everybody tells me. But he was kind of my idol in the basketball world to begin with. He put the ball in my hands. I went to all of his games when he was a little bit older, and still playing himself. But he was my coach throughout like middle school, elementary school, and even a little bit in high school. My freshman year, he was my coach. But yeah, he was the one. My dad was kind of my start in basketball, and from there it kind of blossomed.
What was it like? Obviously, you're from Chicago. What was it like growing up playing basketball in Chicago? Like, what was the scene like? Was it more like, did you play AAU in Chicago? Did you play like pickup, street ball, that type of thing? What was it like growing up?
Yeah. So, man, I mean, obviously, basketball in Chicago is so much different than where it might be everywhere else. I know every city has their own style. Everybody has their own kind of mantra in terms of basketball, but I think Chicago has a very specific type of basketball that's being played. You think about guys like Anthony Davis, Derrick Rose, Dwayne Wade, right, Isaiah Thomas. Those are some big names that have come from the city. And then, even more recent guys like Ayo Dosunmu, Taylor Horton-Tucker. Antonio Reeves is another young guy that's coming up, right? I went to high school with him, right? Played against Taylor, played against Ayo. All of those guys are around my age. So being around those guys is like, man, it's just a whole nother level. So you really got to be ready, right? Every time you step on the court, it's like, hey, nobody cares what your name is. Nobody cares what your rank. Nobody cares what you so-called can do, how many mixtapes you have, right? You got to come out here and bring it. you gotta come out here and show me. And that's kind of the way that I played, growing up. I never had the rankings. I was never at all the big time camps. I was never a big name player, right, per se, right? I knew a lot of people. A lot of people knew who I was, but I was never a top star guy, right? Even in high school, even in college, even, right? So for me, my mindset was like, yo, every day, every game is something new, right? And you got to show me who you are regardless, right? And I'm coming with mine. So you gotta meet me where I am. So Chicago basketball is just a different beast, right? A bunch of scrappy little guards, fast, pressure you full court, Patrick Beverly style. Yeah, that's what you gotta deal with, right? And I'm a little guard, so that's what I'm in. So just a bunch of different heart levels is what I would say. Everybody here plays with heart, plays with craft, and everybody just wants it. It's gritty out here. That's what I would say.
What was like your high school experience like? Did you play like same school all 4 years? Were you public school, private school? What was it like in high school?
Yeah. So high school for me was an interesting experience. I started out in a public school. I was a public school kid from first grade all the way to my sophomore year of high school. When I was a seventh grader, I went to a school called Kenwood Academy. That's in Hyde Park. And I was there from seventh and eighth grade, right, all the way to my freshman and sophomore year. I ended up transferring from that school to a private school on the west side. So I'm from the south side. I live in Bronzeville now, but I went to school on the west side, Chicago Hope Academy, which is where I now coach. But my junior year, I transferred in. I wanted a bigger role in terms of basketball. I wanted the opportunity to kind of show what I have on the basketball scene. I wasn't necessarily going to get that at Kenwood, being a bigger school, a lot more kids coming in. I really wanted to focus on being, a contributor to a team, right? And I was able to do that. My junior year, I transferred in, and we ended up going downstate, playing in the state tournament. We finished in the Final Four. We finished third place in the state, which was good, right, by most people's standards. But we thought we had what we had to compete and get the job done. We fell a little short, and that's okay, right? Learned a lot. But yeah, that was my high school experience, right? Senior year, same thing, lost in the Elite Eight. So we lost to the eventual champions who ended up winning three championships in a row. So, but that was what high school was like. I enjoyed my high school experience. I think it shaped me. It grew a lot for me, right? Mentally, learning not to quit, right, when things aren't going my way, learning to persevere and making sure I'm just, overall in a good mental headspace so that I can perform on the court, past high school.
What was your recruitment process like coming out of Chicago Hope Academy, like, and what eventually made you choose CMSV and coming to New York? And what weighed into that decision?
Nice, yeah. So for me, I knew I wanted to play college basketball since I was a kid, right? Yeah. Obviously, every kid that plays basketball wants to play at the professional level, right? To some extent, right? But it starts with college. For me, I'll start when I was in seventh grade. I was like, I want to go to Michigan State. That was my school, right? I want to go to Duke. I want to go to North Carolina, right? And as you get older, it's like, oh, okay, it's a little different, right? But as I got to my junior and senior year, I actually started to get a little bit more interest. I had 3 total schools that were kind of looking at me. They were all out of state, right? I knew I wanted to leave the city of Chicago to play somewhere else, just to get that experience somewhere else, all right, and kind of have some exposure elsewhere. Loras College was in Iowa, I believe, and then there was one more school in Michigan. Can't think of the name right now, and then the third school was CMSV. I took visits to all 3 schools, but my time in New York was kind of like, okay, this is a little bit more like it, right? Iowa, you're in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, cornfields and stuff. So I'm not used to that. I'm a city kid. So when I got to New York, met with Coach Mooney, met with Coach Mike, met some of the older guys, Drew, right, Jose, all of those guys. I'm like, okay, these are some good guys. They probably steer me in the right direction. And I think ultimately I made the right decision by going to CMSV.
You talked a little bit about like the style of basketball in Chicago. What was like the biggest difference in play style that you saw like coming to New York from being in Chicago?
Yeah. Okay. So when you talk about play styles, New York has probably the most unique, right? Everybody is kind of the one-on-one style in New York is something, right? Some of my teammates, I'm like, man, these guys can go. If it's just one-on-one on an island, right, Rikers Island or whatever it might be, it gets spooky, right? So that kind of definitely shook me a little bit to kind of start, right? I'm more of a pass first team kind of guy, right? I'm able to set my teammates up pretty high IQ, right? Get a bucket when I need to, but man, I'm like, yo, you gotta really be ready to guard some of these one-on-one players. So that was probably the biggest difference for me, right? Just kind of adjusting to the quicker one-on-one style that it is, ISO ball. But I mean, basketball is basketball at the end of the day. You know, I really enjoy, you know, playing against other guys, seeing different styles, right, and then matching up with those guys that are so-called the top guys. So I think New York basketball is definitely top 3 for sure.
So obviously you get to CMSV, you're playing in New York. What was like your college experience like? And then like obviously COVID happens while you're there, which obviously throws a wrinkle into everything for everybody. So what was it like starting at CMSV playing basketball, then COVID happens, you're on pause for a little bit, and then obviously you're able to play again at CMSV after COVID. So talk about like the whole experience of the uncertainty and the whole process of it.
Yeah, got you. Man, college was eye-opening, right? I had lots of ups and downs, right? A lot of situations where I was frustrated. Sometimes I was on highs, lows, right? Just everything in between, right? But as a freshman, I played on the JV team, right? We had a JV team at SMSV. Me and 14 other freshmen came in for one class. I was like, oh, I'm like, when I came in, I'm thinking like, this is the team, right?
Yeah.
Like, nah, this is just a freshman class. And you know, it was kind of eye-opening for me. I'm like, man, okay, so I really got to show my stuff if I want to even, you know, be on that upper level. But I think the JV team for me playing for Coach Mike McClendon, he's definitely one of my favorite coaches to ever play for, because he always kept it a buck with you, right? Regardless of how you felt, right? He always told you what it was, and you could really count on his honesty, right, to help you in that situation. And he was just a realist. Like, that's what he would call himself. I'm just a realist, right? I'm gonna tell you what it is, right? Yeah. Just know it's out of love, right? It's never anything personal with Coach Mike. He always told you what it was because he loved you, right? And he wanted you to get better. He wanted you to grow. But yeah, he really allowed me to kind of develop my skills, right, as a point guard, and really adjust to the college pace. We played a lot of talented teams and won some, lost some. We had a really good team. We always had this debate like, yo, we might have the best JV team in the country, right? So like it was just fun to play with some of those guys, right? And those teammates are still some guys that I talk to this day. You know, Kyrie LaPlanche, he's doing his thing on the cage, right? He's looking to go into college in Canada, right? Doing all these big things, right? Kelvin Turner Harris, he played overseas in the UK, right? So like some of these guys were really talented, and we all kind of met at the same time, and it was a really great experience my freshman year. Sophomore year was my first sniff on varsity. I was playing behind our point guard, our starting point guard, who was a year older than I was. I thought I could do a little bit more in terms of production. But when I did get the opportunity, I think I did show what I had. And I thought that was going to be my moment leading into my junior year when COVID happened. It's like, oh, gosh, right? So everything, my junior year shut down. And I remember being in the gym when we got an email. We were all in for open gym. This is after the season. This might have been like March, around there. We all got an email like, yeah, you got to get your stuff, go home, because they're about to shut down the campus because of this COVID thing. I'm like, man, I guess we'll be back in a couple weeks. Right? So I left all my stuff in the dorm room, all my clothes, all my shoes, all of that stuff. Like, I brought my game and everything like that, my laptop and stuff. But like, a lot of my stuff sat in that room for the whole duration of COVID. So yeah, that was my junior year, right? And even when we came back to school, things are just different, right? We couldn't really be in the gym too much, right? And when we were in the gym, it was just 3 or 4 guys together. Everybody had their masks on, right? We weren't able to play anybody. No games took place for us, just kind of scrimmaging within our team. And that was even later down in the year. COVID was just a different time, man. Just a different experience. but it allowed me and my guys to kind of get closer together, right? I would say that as spread out as we were able to come together as a brotherhood, and that kind of led to our senior year where we kind of did exceed expectations, I would say. Senior year, we had some ups and downs. I started out the year starting point guard. First 3 or 4 games I started, and then Coach Mooney, he made the call to sit us. He thought that he could have some more production from some of the younger guys. And for the next 10 to 12 games, I would say I came off the bench, wasn't playing as much as I wanted to, but when I got that opportunity to go into that court, I gave it everything I had. And eventually, right, coach saw like, hey, he's put in that work. He deserves that spot back. And eventually I was able to get back to that starting lineup, right, continue to work hard. And came playoff time, we were ready to go. We hadn't run a playoff game in the last 3 years, right? Since we came into the program as freshmen, we hadn't won a playoff.
This is the story of the one. As a custodial supervisor at a high school, he knows that during cold and flu season, germs spread fast. It's why he partners with Grainger to stay fully stocked on the products and supplies he needs, from tissues to disinfectants to floor scrubbers. All so that he can help students, staff, and teachers stay healthy and focused. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hadn't made the playoffs at that. So yeah, my sophomore year, I think we were 1 game off, right? Freshman year, I think we were 1 or 2 games off. So all the way up until my senior year, it was like, man, we got to make the playoffs, at least just the conference playoffs. So we ended up being the 7th seed going into my senior year, playoffs or conference. And we played the number 2 team in our conference, right? We had played earlier, and they kind of they had dismantled us in the beginning, right? I'll tell you about this game. We were losing by like 18 at one point. First half, just killing us. Right?
This is in the playoff game or the regular season?
No, this is the regular season game.
Okay.
We played United States Merchant Marine Academy. So this is like a bunch of Navy guys, super strong, physical. I'm like, man, this is different. But they were up 18, right? And we plugged it all the way back down. We lost by 3 that game. I remember it like it was yesterday. And by the time we caught them in the playoffs, right, we just had a different mentality. Like, nah, we see what they do. We know what they do. Coach Mooney had a great game plan for us. And we ended up knocking them off, right? We beat them by like 8, I think, in overtime, right? It was a really good game. I think I had one of my better games on the season. A couple of our guys contributed quite a bit to our success there. And then we ended up running into the number 1 team in our conference, Yeshiva University.
They're probably the best team in the country at that point.
Yeah, they were like they were number 1 team in the country at one point.
Yeah.
Win streak, like they were just a talented team overall. They ended up knocking us off in the final game of my senior year. But man, my CMSV experience was just dope, right? I think it prepared me a lot just for life, right? Dealing with, like I said, adversity, persevering through challenges, and making sure I'm ready to go for anything that comes my way.
So coming out of CMSV, talk a little bit about your experience. You went to Rome City Institute, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was like you're playing pro, but you're also getting your master's out there.
Correct. Yeah.
So talk about that experience, like being overseas and stuff. And like, I'm sure it was obviously way different than growing up in Chicago, coming to New York for college, and now you're in a foreign country. So like, talk about like that transition.
Got you. Yeah. So, man, it seems like after I turned 18, I was never home. Right. So like once I left New York, I came home for about 3 months, before I had to leave out again. Right. I ended up going with my college roommate, Jeremiah Simmons, to Rome. He kind of plugged me in with that as well. Right. We were able to start studying a little bit and then have the opportunity to play professionally. So, with Rome City, it was like you had the opportunity to play pro, but you had to earn that, right? So it wasn't like anything guaranteed, right? You could practice with the school team, right, the graduate team, but if you want to play for a professional club, right, you have to earn that role.
Okay.
So we played a couple scrimmages right off the bat. Who do we play? University of Wisconsin lacrosse came to Rome, all the way from Wisconsin to play us. I'm like, man, this is pretty cool, right? Imagine being a kid playing D3 ball and you go all the way to Rome. It's like, oh man, that's dope. So we played them. It was a pretty cool experience there. Man. So like that was that part of it. So once you were able to transition a little bit, we had practices every day. Obviously we had classes and everything, but everything I was looking forward to was just making sure my basketball was together. I did prioritize my academics as well, but my main focus out there was just kind of get that professional feel. I ended up signing with a team, Virtus Basket Aprilia, which is a city that's maybe 25, 30 minutes outside of Rome. And that was my first professional kind of experience at the pro level in Italy. So I played with a bunch of great guys. I played with a bunch of talented individuals, I would say. The basketball over there is definitely more strategic, a lot more, focused on ball movement and cuts, and not the New York ISO 101. I'm a blow past you, hit you with the tween. Like that wasn't a thing. They're more so focused on, hey, here's a back screen, right? Can you make this pass in there after that screen, right? Here's a backdoor cut. What are you doing with that? A lot more emotion, I would say. But my experience with that team was, again, up and down, right? I've always had that experience of kind of persevering through those challenges. My first 3 months on the team, I didn't touch the floor. Tough, very tough. Just kind of sitting, watching everybody else, right? I was playing behind 3 guards that were from the city that I was playing in. And they were all, like I said, they were all talented, very talented. I thought I could contribute to the team in some aspect, but coach just didn't see it that way. He was like, man, I got 3 guards ahead of you. It's like, man, we like how you play. We love how you are, right? But that rotation is just tight. So I kept, working every day at practice. And then I ended up having an opportunity to go to another team. And I was like, okay, I'm going to check that out. Right. My agent, I guess you could say, she was also the basketball coach, Angela Adomali. She was great. She helped me out a lot. She plugged me in with another president from another team, and I was ready to go. I went out to 2 workouts with them, and they were like, yeah, we want to sign you now and have you playing this week. I'm like, oh, don't even worry about it. Let's get rolling. I was all set until I got a call from the president, and they were like, yeah, we're halfway through the year. As much as we want to sign you, right, the contract that you're under, right, they're going to make us pay $3,500 for you for the half season. And they're like, just can't do that right now. I'm like, oh, okay. So now I'm like, all right, now I just got to really work my way into this rotation somehow. I don't know what I got to do. I don't know where I got to kind of contribute, but every day at practice was focused on trying to break that lineup and break into that not the starting role necessarily, but just the rotation in general. So this story is usually the one where I'm kind of, when I tell people about perseverance, right, working through challenges and making sure they're always focused on their mental. I was practicing, and I was scheduled not to play at all, right? One of our guys gets hurt. One of the 3 guards gets hurt. And this was just for maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks he was out. And that's when I got the call like, hey, you're going to have an opportunity to play this Saturday. I'm like, okay, well, this is what I was waiting on, right? This is kind of where I was looking to go. We get to the game. My coach had picked me up in the car. We go to the game. I'm ready to go. I'm locked in, headphones in, listening. I don't even know what I was listening to. Probably something from Chicago, Lil Herb, Lil Durk, somebody. But that's kind of how I was locked in. And my first 3 shots, I remember this is the first quarter. I didn't play until maybe the 4-minute mark in the first quarter, I would say. When he checked me in, I'm like, all right, let's get busy, right? First 3 shots, miss. I'm 0 for 3. Had a couple steals, a couple assists. I'm 0 for 3, though. I'm like, man, I might have just sold my opportunity and just might have choked that one away. Going to the second quarter, didn't play much. Probably played the last 2 minutes or so. Again, didn't do much, right? Maybe had 1 bucket in that time frame, and the whole half had gone by. I only had 2 or 3 points. I got to the free throw line, I think. I'm like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to play here anymore. Like, this might be over. I might have just sold my opportunity. Going to the halftime locker room, my coach is like, yeah, we're gonna start out 4 guards. I'm like, wait, we only have 4 more guards on the am I starting now? Like, what's going on? So I started into the second half. I'm like, okay. I finished that game with 13 points and I think 6 assists. Yeah. So that was like my coming out party, I guess you could say. Yeah. Everybody knew I had the skill, the talent to do it, but I don't think anybody knew it would be kind of that exciting. And we ended up losing the game by 6, which was rough. We were down again like 15 or so at one point. But just bringing us back, kind of making sure I made my impact and made my mark was kind of significant. So here's the crazy part. The next day, I ended up going back to my city going back to the city I played in just to watch one of my other teammates play because they were in the same city. And they played, I think, our Serie D team, I think. So like the D division, the 4th division team. And it was the girls. So I was just watching them play, right? Right. And then I ended up watching the men's game. So I'm like, okay, cool. This is dope. And as soon as I walked in to our gym, I was like, oh, D, because that's what they called me. They called me D. They didn't go by Dorian or anything like that. Oh, D, great game yesterday. Great game. I'm like, oh, so everybody, how y'all think? all of that good stuff. And my assistant coach, who's also my translator, right? He spoke English fairly well. Corrado Tochi, he was my guy. He was really my guy. He helped me out a lot. He was the one to kind of pull me aside, and he pulled me outside of the gym. We walked to the back around the parking lot, and he was like, "I have some news for you." And I'm like, "Now what? Like what? Now what? What could happen now?" He's like, yeah, I just want to let you know, like, our coach is going to be released. I was like, what do you mean released? Like, what are you saying? He's like, yeah, he's going to be fired tomorrow. I'm like, whoa. Damn. I'm like, what? Like, why? What's going on? He's like, yeah, the upper management didn't like how he was handling your time, right? Everybody seemed to know that you could do it, right? But he never saw the vision for you. And at that moment, I'm like, okay. All right. I get it now. Yeah. See, this is why you put in the work. This is why you continue to plant seeds, right? And then water them. Because, it doesn't make sense if you're not going to water the seed, it doesn't make sense for you to, invest in that, right? Yeah. Don't water it, right? I want to make sure I'm in a place where I'm always working hard to get to where I want to be, right? And that translates to everything. So the rest of my season finished out fairly strong, right? We made it to the playoffs, ended up losing our last game. If we had won, we would have went up to the next division, and that would have been cool. We ended up falling a little bit short, but I met some amazing people out there. My teachers, my teammates from out there, right? I met some Americans from different cities, right? Just playing with them every day it was just a great experience, right? Something I was looking forward to, and I encourage all of you to kind of, if there's an opportunity presented to you, definitely take advantage of it, because you never know what you can find. Right, that golden nugget opportunity could be the one to propel you to the next level.
So the whole idea and like mindset of like always staying ready, so that way you don't got to get ready, and like making daily deposits, stuff like that. Like, is that something that, since you have experience of actually doing that, like it's easier for you now as a coach to kind of like instill in kids and like tell kids like similar stories the way you just told me?
Absolutely. I think my experience is just in general with basketball, right? That allows me to connect more with, all of the kids that I coach, right? All of the youth that I kind of mentor and train on the side. Everybody looks to me like, okay, he has the knowledge and the skill, obviously, but he's somebody I can relate to, right? Yeah. He's not a big person. He's not a Division I guy. He's not, this 5-star stud, right? He's a regular guy, right? That loves the game of basketball, that takes it seriously, right? And now the kids that I coach now, they're like, yeah, D-Rob, can you let me know what I need to do? Or let's get in the gym. Can you show me what you were doing? Can you help me with this? And I think that trust that they have in me, it makes me just go hard for them even more, right? I think having people in your life that are going to mentor you and make sure you're in the right headspace as a person, people that are going to challenge you, make sure you're on your P's and Q's, right? that's something that I really am grateful for. Right, my high school coach was somebody that took a chance on me. Right, Coach Antoine, he's still my guy. He's like one of my father figures. Right, probably the best coach I've ever had. Coach Mooney's always held me accountable. Coach Mike, my coaches in Italy, great coaches. Right, and that's kind of who I kind of pride myself to be. Right, just making sure I'm a mentor to all the kids that I'm invested in.
At what point did you realize that you wanted to become a coach?
I think,
was it something you always thought about, or was it like after that year in Italy, it was like something presented itself, so you took the opportunity?
Yeah, so I didn't even, fresh out of Italy, I didn't even coach. That was my first year coaching. Last year was my first official year coaching. I've always been a youth coach. I've coached at a sports camp for the last 10 years. So I was 15 and I was coaching like 8 and 9-year-olds.
Yeah.
But like as a profession, I guess you could say, that was my first year. Last was my first year. So I think what got me into coaching was, like I said, having great coaches around me. Right, I was able to experience some of the better basketball minds in Chicago. And people always told me like, yo, you're going to be a great coach. Like even my trainer, when he was training me, he's like, yo, you have such a high IQ. You're going to be a hell of a coach. Right. Coach Dre, he's always told me. And this summer or this spring, I was able to help him coach with his young AAU team. Right. So, just being able to give back and make sure my youth and everybody that's around me, anybody that I impact, that I touch, right, I want to make sure I just send the elevator back down. You get to a certain platform, right? Don't just let the platform have to come down for somebody else, right? Just send it back down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right, being able to help somebody else.
So you talked about like how your experience playing like helps you like get through to kids, and you could obviously use stories of like playing. But like, do you see the game any differently now, like being on the other side as a coach as compared to how you saw it as a player?
Absolutely. So, okay, I'm gonna give you an example. So everybody's like, when you're playing basketball, you're on the court, you're the one with the ball, you're the one that's making reads, right? And your coach might see something different than you do. I was always the one like, yo, I'm the one with the ball, bro. How you gonna tell me that, right? Like,
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty smart. I make good decisions, right? I average this amount of assists per game. I do this, I do that. How you gonna tell me what I'm as a coach? It's like, bro, you're a goof. You're a goof. Right. It's okay. Right. I know you see what you see, but on a grander scheme, because I'm looking at the whole picture, I see things that you don't see. I see that backside defender playing hope. I see him kind of stunting in that gap when you can just make that read instead of trying. All right. I think being a player, it's easy to stay in your kind of first person experience and not see the bigger picture. And I think I kind of fell victim to that. And that's kind of what I have to instill into my kids, right? You have to trust what I see. While I give you the freedom, right? If you see something, absolutely go take it. But just hear me out when I say, hey, that backside defender's there, right? Make sure you make that kick to the corner, right? You don't have to take it all the way all the time. Kick it, okay? So for me, I think being able to differentiate between the two, right? Knowing that, they might see something that I don't, or I might see something that they don't. I try not to make that a big deal. I try to just kind of explain it to them. Like, hey, this is what I'm seeing, right? I know what you're seeing, or I can see what you're seeing, right? Just take a look at this also, okay? So that's kind of how I look at it now. But yeah, there's definitely a difference, right? And I kind of feel stupid for all the coaches that I had. Like, I was a little hard headed back then, right? So like, but ultimately, I recognize the difference now. And as a coach, I try to just kind of break it down for my kids.
So your first year coaching at Chicago Hope Academy, your alma mater, you guys end up winning the state championship. So talk about like what that meant to you, and like obviously going and playing at that school and now winning it as a coach. Like what did that mean to you?
Man, I mean, this past season was surreal. It was crazy. We have some very talented guys that came through our program this year. Our starting point guard, Taiwan Hunter, is 5'7", with shoes on. But man, that kid can play. He can play. Like, he's super fast, crafty with the ball, handles on a string, sees the court super well, can shoot the lights out from anywhere. Literally. but look it up. Taiwan Hunter, he made a full court shot in the, what was that? That might have been a state championship, might have been a semifinal. Full court shot, cash. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's scripted. We have to win this one. We got bigs like our Jaden Simmons. He's like a forward, 6'4", 6'5". Throw it up to the rim, he'll go get it, dunk. It's crazy, right? So our seniors were leaders. Ian, Dom, Jakari, even like we had some crazy role players, right? Malik Merity was a corner specialist. We call him Draco because he can shoot the lights out, right? So all of our guys, and they were just leaders for our new group coming up, right? We return Taiwan and Jaden. They're coming back this next year, and then we'll have probably six seniors in this class, I think. But it'll be fun. But winning a state championship, going through all the trials and tribulations, and then hoisting that trophy at the end of the year, it's surreal, right? Here's a backstory. The team that we lost to my junior year in the semifinals is the same team that we played in the semifinals this year, and they won. They're like, yeah, D-Rob, we're going to get you that get back. We're going to get you that get back. Da, da, da. I'm like, man, that's love, right?
Yeah, for real.
All of my guys from my team, we're all rooting them on, right? All cheering them on, rooting for them, right? We all want each other to win. We're all family. We're all Eagles at some point. And, just seeing the support that our school had, right? We took the day off from school, drove in vans to go down to watch the game. And we played at the University of Illinois, right? So this is a big, huge facility.
Yeah.
And both the games, we were outnumbered probably like 95 to 5%. It was crazy, right? We only have 300 students in our school, but they brought their whole town, both games. And, it's like, man, they got a lot of support, but the people that did come support us, that came and watched us, that came and cheered for us, it was really meaningful for our guys, families and friends, and, just seeing that community, that culture that we've instilled in our school, right? It really came to fruition, and it was probably one of our bigger factors in making sure we got that state championship.
That's like such a super like full circle moment, I'm sure, for you. Like obviously, like you said, like losing to a team your junior year as a player and then beating them as a coach. Like I can only imagine.
Yeah.
So what are some of like your future like plans, goals, aspirations in coaching? Like, do you want to be like a head coach one day? Do you want to coach high school, college, or do you have any plans, or is it kind of day by day, year by year?
Well, I'm a pretty present person. I always kind of stay within the moment, right? I never look too far ahead. Never stay in the past too much. Obviously, I have goals. Yeah. I eventually want to be a head coach. Whether it's at the high school level, whether it's at the college level. If I got to work my way up, right? Obviously, I'm with that. I've been with that grind for some time now. But you know, my first step is looking to be a high school head coach. And that's kind of where I'm looking to go first right now. Just kind of continue to mold the young guys in our program so that, if I am, elevated to a high school coach, I know what to do. I know what to expect and to kind of instill into my guys so that they're ready to go as well.
Last question I have for you, the last question I always ask everybody, because I think it's like helpful for like younger players and stuff like that, and like things as a coach myself I could pass on to younger guys. Mm-hmm. If you could go back in time and give your younger self advice in terms of basketball, what would it be?
Man, I think I have two phrases for myself, right? First one is run your own race. Run your own race, right? I have that tatted on my leg, right? It's something that I kind of live by now, right? Everybody has a different story.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different path. God, for me, right? God is a big part of my life. You don't know what God's plan is. You don't know what doors he's opening. You don't know what doors he's working on, right? You run your own race, right? You're eventually going to get to where you're supposed to be, right? And that's, I think my story kind of shows that, right? I obviously wanted to be the starting point guard everywhere I went, right? But if I don't leave my public school, right, I don't get the opportunity to be a part of a state championship contending team, right? I don't get to go to college at the next level. I don't get to go overseas and play professional basketball. And then I don't get to come back as a coach, right? So like my story, just like you said, is a full circle, right? Everything comes together as it should. And then, like I said, my next one is just stay the course. Stay the course. Put your head down. Don't complain. Just work. Stay the course. I think a lot of what young guys nowadays like to do is just kind of complain and kind of sit in their negative thoughts, right? And that doesn't help them, right? I think I don't want to say this generation is soft, right? Because I'm technically a part of this generation, but the mindset is definitely a little different than what I've kind of been taught, and that's kind of what I'm working to instill into my young guys. Like, hey, the crying, the complaining, the whining, right? We don't do that. We just put our head down. We just work. That's it. So yeah, I think that's what I would say to my younger self. And then just continue to be you, bro. That's what it is. You're gonna be you never know. You don't know what you're gonna be, but just keep going. You'll get to where you want to be, man, for sure.
I love that. I 100% agree with it. All right. Thanks so much, Dorian. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the pod today.
For sure, man. I appreciate you for having me, bro.
All right, that's it for today's episode. Thanks so much to Dorian for coming on. Thanks so much to all the listeners for tuning in and continuing to support. Again, if you could please follow on social media, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Continue to listen, continue to rate, subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Appreciate all the support. We'll be back next week. Thanks.